Hi, welcome to Classic Cars Driven. My name's Matt Nichols, and today you are driving Great Escape Hire's classic Jaguar V12 convertible. The XJS took over the role of Jaguar's Grand Tourer in 1975, replacing the E-Type. Now that, by any stretch of the imagination, is one tough act to follow, and combined with a fuel crisis that was going on at the time and the choice of just one very thirsty V12 engine, the XJS had a very tricky start to its life. Michael Sayer, who actually designed the E-Type, was responsible for the main design of the Jaguar XJS. Now, unfortunately, he passed away in 1970, so he never actually saw the fruits of his labours come into the production line. So Sir William Lyons and the internal Jaguar design team picked up the reins from there. So just a coupe, just the one engine, a very thirsty V12, and the Jaguar XJS needed some revitalisation. That came in 1980 when John Egan took over Jaguar, and John was a fan. He could see the potential in the car, so he straight away contacted Michael May, an engineer in Switzerland, to set about redesigning the combustion chambers and cylinder heads in the Jaguar engine, to come up with a system where fuel and air is mixed together and swirl around prior to combustion. This means even with a hefty engine, a 5.3 litre V12 like this, that economy is increased by in the region of around 20%. Enough perhaps to make a difference in the marketplace at the time. Of course, by the 1980s the fuel crisis was no more, but there was still a lot of competition, and this was, after all, Jaguar's prime Grand Tourer. Now, I think when we look back at the E-Type, it's very tricky to see the journey from an early 6-cylinder E-Type through to the Jaguar XJS. It's puzzled me for years. But having driven a Jaguar E-Type V12, which is in itself a Grand Tourer rather than a sports car like the 6-cylinder originals, you can sort of better see the connection. The Jaguar E-Type V12 set the scene in terms of touring, and really with its more angular design and quite surprisingly improved aerodynamics, the XJS picked up the reins quite well from that position. It was just always going to be a tough act to follow, given the way that the E-Type looked and the following it had. It was some 11 years before a convertible was offered with the XJS, and this took the form of an H&E conversion in the States. Some 900 cars were converted. The roof folded neatly all the way down, but to achieve that there had to be some major modifications, including split under fuel tanks in the boot to create the extra space, and completely doing away with the rear seats. So when Jaguar had a go themselves in 1988 to launch a car for 1989, they maybe took some of the hints from that, but not all. First thing they wanted to do was to keep the original car intact, so the only loss was the rear seats. And in fact, this car from Great Escape Classic Hire has had a seat conversion put back in, so the rear seats are now there, albeit quite small and compact, and really only for small children, or let's say some extra bags. The boot is left quite large, so it's easy to store golf clubs and suitcases and overnight bags, no problem at all, to give this car a true grand touring nature. Now, having driven around as we have today, I have to say the fuel economy hasn't improved that amount, so you do plan to put a few gallons of fuel in, there's no question you're going to need it. But what you get with the 3-speed auto and open top touring is superb comfort, beautiful pace, the handling's pretty good as well, and you get that lovely whoosh of the V12. It's not in your face, the noise is quite distinct, but it's in the background. So this isn't some American cruiser trying to remind you every step of the way of the power that lurks underneath. This is, after all, a Jaguar. It's much more refined. The V12 engine is there, performance is certainly there when you need it, but most of the time you'll be pooling around with just a few thousand RPM dialed in. And I think for the XJS, that's the way it should be. And that sense of sort of superior motoring, plenty of room for two, maybe a small child in the back, all the bags in the boot, and what better way to enjoy a weekend away. I've been Matt Nichols. This is ClassicCarsDriven.com, and today we've been enjoying Jaguar XJS V12 convertible.